Go. Welcome, guys. Name is Austerius. Today we're gonna be talking about Panetti's replicating missile build with vitality damage. Right, you can only get this vitality damage upon reaching a level 94 because you need a specific item here, the Conduit of Arcane Whisper, which can convert this. Your elemental and ether damage of Panettis into the vitality, and by converting it means like it's not only converting the base damage of Panetti missiles, it's converting the damage of distortion, it's converting the supercharge, it's converting proliferation, so it's always gonna be vitality damage. In case of supercharge is gonna be vitality decay instead of electrocute damage. All right, so if you're looking at my stats here, we reach minimum damage requirement for build to consider a good one. We reach 102k DPS per second. The composition of vitality of Panetti missiles is mostly vitality damage with some 7700 of vitality decay. So we're gonna be talking about how to build this build, how to get it from 0 to level 94, what to do after level 94, how the build behaves, like strong points of the builds, weak points of the build, how we did play this build overall, because we always start in our builds exclusively on ultimate difficulty, right? So it's presenting a different challenge for a build that you will be having it on normal difficulty when you start in a new character. For now, I say one thing. We beat a Celestial. So today we beat Locker with this build. Can't face tank Locker, obviously. The build is fragile despite it having some decent resistances here, but defensive ability is, too low for Locker. And it does have its physical resistance on 38%. We did beat him without dying. We beat Mogodran. We beat Ravager. And we were about to beat Caligadra, and I make the player mistake, which has cost me a life when he was on his last leg. So, guys, what happened if you watch the actual full video here, again on YouTube. But Caligadra managed about Mogodran fight. It's pretty easy fight. For this build, it's pretty easy fight. It took me considerable amount of time, like 50 minutes, maybe less than 50 minutes to kill him. But that's because the Mogodran had only 97 or something vitality resistance. 127 vitality resistance for Ravager and Caligadra. Took me considerable amount of time to build to kill the Ravager with Kite tactic. Same with Caligadra, more than 20 minutes for each. So it's beatable, but it requires some player skills and tremendous concentration. Now we're just gonna be jumping before anything happen. We're gonna be jumping into Shattered Realm, level 65 Shattered Realm. So I'm gonna show you how the build behave in the higher ranking Shattered Realm. It is slow because it's barely the damage is only 100k. Can we survive it? Can we survive it? We did beat yesterday level 50 Shattered Realm without a problem, but we were almost on every time we were keeping the timer on 5 minutes. Time we weren't getting much of a time there because of how slow the build is. And it is actually playable, right? If you're interested if Panetti missile with vitality damage is playable, it is. We're gonna be talking about the stats and stuff, what I have on this build after we jump into and demonstrate the build performance. We're gonna be talking about all of this devotion, items, stats, and all the juicy stuff. So stick around, or oh not. Okay, wait, never mind. So we have the offer the Celestial Waystone. Level 65. It could be pretty fast, dying here, because even on my best build, level 65, was easy ray build, which was like had almost 3k DPS, 300k DPS. It was quite challenging to face this in terms of actual my survivability. So this build feature a decent health leech. This feature a decent health leech. And well, possible cleaning speed, I would say so. Possible, but not great. So like this is taking some time to killing those guys. So much easier to find than Celestials, huh? Right, so build does have, like I say, a life leech, but it's actually very decent. However, it's been a glass cannon as it is. Some guys just can one-shot you if you're, especially if you're fighting the Celestials who can utilize the huge amount of damage into thunder attack, right? However, the funny thing, every boss fight we fought in campaign mode and the DLCs, right, like the Warlock and all his friends, right, all other bosses before the Warlock, I actually could have face-tanked them, and I was face-tanking them 95% of the time, even into the thunder damage. So the build does look fragile, but when you go in for it, I can even face tank the thunder for most of the bosses. Obviously, not Celestials excluding that list. Celestials, Lockar, and other secret bosses there is.
I can't do that yet.
Okay, the one thing, like again, I was talking about this a lot during my playthrough. So I have a problem aiming my Panetti missiles, like compared to how easy to aim with Easter Ray build. I feel like the speed of projectile, the overall area they cover in, way worse than Easter Ray build. Way worse. Okay, we're losing the time here. Not killing those guys fast enough. Yeah, 7 minutes instead. So far we're holding on, but we haven't like fought any mighty force yet, any nemesis or multiple nemesis. So there's level 35 shatter, 65 shatter ram, famous for that multiple nemesis at the same time. Okay, not even hitting those guys, am I? Like my projectiles are missing, or those guys have high vitality resistance. What is going on here? I think the high vitality resistance. So I can reduce vitality resistance of my 4 guaranteed by 61%, minus 61%, and then there's additional 20% that come in when from my 2 rings when I crit the enemies. So we have basically in a good conditions, I have a minus 81 resistance reduction for this build, which is enough for any foe you're facing, except maybe, like I say, Calagadra and Ravager, which is making those fights possible, but quite slow indeed. And then you can get like additional 8% to this 81% from the tincture, right, that you can buy from what Borrowholm. So that's bringing you to 89%, almost 90% resistance reduction. Okay, so there's how we're gonna manage the bosses here in Shattered Realm. We kinda can face stun this. Yeah, we attacking him into his. No, we got another guy there. We're attacking him into his thunder damage over there. But the problem is we're too slow, are we? Okay, almost died there. Should avoid his thunder a little bit, showing a little bit of player skill. Yeah. Okay, so this guy is down. He used to be immortal or whatever. And here goes another guy. The thunder, we can face tank the thunder, right? So that most of the thunder attacks I can face tank with this guy. There's a Benjur. Alright, I even can fight despite my very low defensive abilities. Alright, so they critted me very often. As long as they're not killing me like instantaneously, I can bounce back like right away. So like as you see, level 65. As long as you're not doing this one, okay, that was my mistake. Level 65, I would say manageable, right? Level 65, Shattered Realm is manageable, but you need to be careful what you're doing. I saw you can face stun those thunder attacks.
Well done.
Oh, I didn't want to jump to the next shard. Damn it. Never mind. I didn't want to jump to the next one. Wrong button. Anyway, so let's talk about build itself, right? Let's talk about the build itself. First of all, stats. What we have on this build, right? What is sticking for this particular build, and stats like all of the resistances basically over the maximum. We have lightning resistance over 85%, which is in that case getting me enough resistance. We know that Mogodren will not reduce my resistances lower than 83%, right? Mogodren can reduce your resistances by minus 80, and we cover that. We cover that bleeding and vitality resistance over the maximum for fighting Ravager Flash at least. And everything good except the stun resistance, but stun resistance 61 is still okay. Fighting the Mogodren again is still just enough to get that mini stun and not be buzzed by it. Stun resistance, however, coming from my powders on my rings and jewelries, so we didn't have like much of a gear here that have that much of a stun resistance on it. So armor rating 100 absorption. The armor rating itself very poor, so can't really rely in on the physical armor resistance. But we have like a lot of offensive ability and very little of defensive ability. Which again, this kind of defensive ability is pretty good for everything apart from Celestials, and this is offensive ability pretty much a lot for everything except Celestials, right? So with this we can crit Celestials like every 11 or 15% chance, to crit Celestials with this kind of offensive ability, and that's enabled me getting this additional minus resistance reduction from my rings, Signet of the Fallen, Mark of the Fallen, 20% chance to a critical attack to get that vitality resistance. So health 14k, physique, most of my points I spent, attribute points, I spent into physiques. This is how we playing basically every character. We start in ultimate difficulty, and in order to compensate for lack of defensive ability, lack of survivability on ultimate difficulty, every points up until probably level 90 something go into physique, so we get in more health, more defensive ability along the way. That's helping most of the time, right? But we did put a couple of points here into spirit, 19 points, which is improving my DPS and mana to some extent. So we saw during those fights, during celestial fights as well, if you watch the full video on my YouTube channel, we didn't have any mana problem with this build, but originally Panetti Missiles build is very mana hungry build, and I would say a couple of words how to circumvent that problem. Secondary stats. The most important stats here is my casting speed. Casting speed is what increasing your basically your casting speed for Panetti missiles, and that's leading to getting more DPS overall. So casting speed 200, and then vitality damage modifiers. So vitality damage modifier is 2500% with this build, and so goes for vitality decay modifier even more than this. So that's important stuff for this build. And next, the secondary tab, the physical resistance. Freeze resistance is important in some cases, but I'm keeping myself the Hoarfrost Ointment when we fighting the potential enemies that can freeze you, especially something like a Banjur or something, whatever. You know, the guy who can freeze you, I forgot the name, it's not the Banjur. Right, and reflection resistance reduction, 15%, we kind of do have it, but it's inconsequential for this build. First of all, we have a good vitality resistance here, and when we hit an enemy in elites in their resistance damage reflection shields, because my initial damage with Panetti missiles, like damage per missiles, is low, we're not getting that much of feedback back. So yeah, our resistance, this start like reflection resistance 50%, we can work with the 0% here and still will not get in actually wrecked by damage reflection. It's also helping because we have life leech. Speaking of life leech, right, so where is my life leech coming from? It's coming from the Arcane Whispers amulet. It's having 12% of attack damage converted to health for Panetti missiles, and it's also having coming from my mystical spellgazer gear, which is also have 20% of weapon damage converted to Panetti, and it's very important because Panetti missiles are the skills from those part of the skills that don't have any weapon damage integrated by default into them, and having that even a little percentage of weapon damage converted to weapon damage to get into your skill, to your Panetti missiles in this case, helping me with getting all this flat damage, for example, for devotions, not to get in to completely waste. All right, for example, like we have this vitality decay on Ratosh Whale without weapon damage to your skills, you will not get in that vitality decay overall. At least with 20% we get in something, and this something gonna be a buffed fuzzy with percentage increase to vitality damage and vitality decay damage. So this was basically all the stats I was talking about. The highest damage dealt with this build ever was 136k, which is not that much compared to other builds, but I'm generally was impressed how well this build was handling himself. Again, in level 65 Shattered Realm, and overall through the campaign, overall with fighting Celestials and secret bosses. It was way more than I was expected, because I saw the Panetti missiles to begin with, not the greatest skill there is, and it's only like there's only items that can support elemental and ether damage Panetti missiles. Well, you can do it with Vitality. You just need the right tools for the job. And we're gonna be talking about those tools now. Except maybe I should talk about how you level up the build first and foremost. So up until level 94, you level up this build either as ether ray damage Panetti missiles or as elemental damage Panetti missiles. In my case, I was doing elemental damage Panetti missiles, which is kinda tiresome, and but you only need 2 items for that, right? Actually, you only need 1 item for leveling up this as Panetti elemental damage. So we need Wendigo Eye over there. It's pretty hard to get, apparently. No kidding. I spent hours to trying to get it from those Wendigos, and hours, like literally hours, and it wasn't that fast that we got it. So it's giving you converting this ether damage of Panetti into elemental damage. That's how we were leveling up until level 94. You can go like full elemental damage and then convert to Vitality, but I did a little bit different. As well as I was going for elemental damage, right? But my devotion were already after. So I only for my Panettis early on, I only were using 3 devotions for elemental damage. It's Candle, it's a Quill, and it's Rovari Crowned. We're gonna be talking about devotion more later, but that's how we level up my build. And we need Rovari Crown for Elemental Storm, so it's getting this resistance reduction early on, making your missiles basically dealing more elemental damage and circumvent this some elites that have elemental resistances over. Alright, so after that I invested more points to go into Ratosh. So because we're playing on ultimate difficulty, one of my favorite constellations always for mid game and early game is Crane, because it's giving you these basic resistances that you lock in when you lock in the powders from reputation factions and stuff. And this is just great, and it's also enabled me to get the Ratosh early on. And for Ratosh, we want the Will of Ratosh, so we want to level up it to level 15 as fast as possible. And when we jump in on level 94, I have already Will of Ratosh almost like a maxed level, so it's giving me that minus Vitality resistance, minus 25 to my Panetti missiles, and this is just great. Also, I would recommend. So I went into Rise of Dead because I thought it will have not enough resistance reduction, but I couldn't fit that constellation in. What I should like level up early as well is Abominable Might here, because we only like 10 out of 15, and this is additional bonus damage, right? So there should be some training dummies here. So normally we have 102k DPS, but when we're using Abominable Mind here, alright, this is buffed my DPS faster to 110k DPS, right? So that's like more or less real DPS, excluding all the crits and stuff. So the gear, what kind of a gear I use for this build? Again, early on, it's more or less like elemental gear. There's the Grobe Stone effigy, also kind of hard to get, but will help with the Panettis early on. You getting those points to Panetti. The problem with this current build, with Vitality build Panetti, it's hard to hard cap your Panetti as a self, right? With 22 out of 16 over here, so it's really hard to hard cap. But I was thinking about keeping this Grobe effigy to getting my Panetti's replicating missiles higher, well, to getting that to hard cap. But apparently the Tome of Names with that flat elemental damage, giving you more damage than plus 3 points to your Panetti missiles later on. So this elemental damage converted into flat vitality damage. And again, let's start with the items. Let's start with the items now. Most important items for the Vitality build is Conduit of Arcane Whisper. You need to, it's easy to craft in terms of resources, but you need to get a recipe first from it, which is dropping from totems. The best way to farm this recipe, farm the totems. And you probably will not get the right Panetti conversion with the first try, because you have a different affixes there, and one of those that giving you Panetti conversion into vitality damage, so you need to craft it a couple of times to get the right one. Next important item that you can already get on level 84, which I did, it's Mystical Spell Gazer. It's also craftable helmet, which you can get on again from recipe, from farming totems. And like I say, it's giving you plus 4 to Panetti missiles. It's not giving you anything to vitality damage itself, but that weapon damage to Panettis and additional health leech before you're reaching the point when you can health leech from the arcane conduit, it's helping. Also, having 20% of vitality damage means that the life leech stat that you have over here, 6%, is also working now with Panetti too, because without weapon damage to your skill, this life steal stat is not working. You're not life leeching from this. And we have 6% over here as well, so with addition a little bit of life leeching there. So that's our helmet. We're using Living Armor's component on it. Second most important stuff, right? The Mystical Tome of Names, the third most important item over here too. Like I say, just getting you more flat damage to your Panetti missiles. And then for this build, I'm using 3 pieces of Clairvoyant set. Right, Mystical Clairvoyant set, Robe, Scepter, and the Shoulder Guards. So this set dropping from totems, or you also can get a recipe for the helmet for the set from a totem. And then when you get a recipe, if you have Forgotten Ghost DLC, you can go to after you do certain quests, you can unlock the transmute ability. So you just put in the helmet over there and transmute it into the other pieces of the gear you need. So for Clairvoyant set, using 3 pieces here, getting me additional 120 vitality damage and additional defense ability and casting speed, which is you saw my casting speed to 100% here. It basically more vitality damage for you, right? So this Clairvoyant won't giving you a flat ether damage to ether ray. We don't care about that. What we care is that 330 vitality decay and vitality damage over there, and like +1 to occultist, more or less okay. We also care about vitality damage built over here in the Clairvoyant set, and the same goes for Mystical Clairvoyant Mantle. As you see for the robe here, as a component, we're using Kyrian Shattered Sword, which is you have 30% chance to get it from Kyrian. It's a boss in Arkovia Undead City, right? So there's additional like 40 vitality damage here, some vitality resistance, but every damage is count. Alright, so component we're using on my Clairvoyant wand and on my weapons is the Shield of Blight. The Shield of Blight which is additional flat vitality damage, which is, we don't really care much about vitality because we flat vitality because we only getting 20% out of it to my Panetti damage, but that percentage sounds good, and same goes for here. We're using Coven Bane and Underbog Rare Augment for this 55 vitality damage and some chaos resistance here. Same goes for this sync. It's also giving you that additional energy regeneration, which is early on we did have a problem with Panetti using too much energy. I'm gonna be mentioning this when we gonna be looking through the skills. So that's the 3 part of the set. There is another set you can use for this, a couple of assets actually, but the 3 pieces set, I believe it was. Oh my god, do we actually have it? Do we have it in my storage right now?
Safe storage, no questions asked.
What is this? What it was? I don't think I have it in the storage. The set you can get from what his face. The final boss from Tomb of a Heretic, right? The Skeleton Key dungeon in Forgotten Gods DLC. The Morganeth. Okay, that was one candidate for this build, but ultimately, since it's harder to farm the Morganeth set, like extremely harder compared to the Clairvoyant set, and we can get 3 pieces from it, I decided to go for this set. There were other sets that you can get easily 2 pieces, and they boosted your vitality damage by 2 pieces by 120%, and you basically can use them as well for this build. But I'm pretty satisfied with Clairvoyant here. It's service purpose. Next, the Javels, the rings. We have 2 of Signet of the Fallen. You saw it before. I'm using them for that additional vitality resistance reduction for my for the build, right? 10%. Minus 10%, which is stuck in with other minus resistance reduction, and here 20% chance on critical attack. And because we have that much of offensive ability, we crit in even Celestials pretty often for this to trigger. On all my Javelins, I'm using Bloody Crystal as a component for that additional armor and defensive ability. Next, the amulet we're using. That's also a good stuff over here. This is giving me additional vitality damage to Blood of the Dreek, which is 20% of this damage going to Panetti missiles. Alright, and giving me plus cold resistance. For the relic, we're using Necrosis, level 60 relic, which is have the same skill, Cold Necrosis. Again, minus additional 10 vitality resistance to an offensive ability to the enemies, and I'm basically constantly casting on my enemies, so it's over here. How the skill works itself, right? I've never covered it. I maybe show it, but I never explain it. So we have Panetti missile, right? My default to attack. Then we casting myself the Curse of Reality, with giving you that additional minus resistances, minus 26 vitality resistance, and buffing myself with Abominable Might, and the Panetti missiles debuffing enemy with Will of Ratosh, and then also debuffing the enemy Phase with Necrosis, and that's like resulted in the DPS you see right now. Alright, and don't forget to have the to press my Blood of Dreek. Also for sticky situation we have Mirror of Erectus and Nullification. Back to the items. So the pants here, Vendigo main leggings. I mainly got them for huge offensive ability buff. That's mainly what I got them for. They also giving you that siphoned souls. Alright, additional survivability overall. But if you don't need, if you don't want to fight Celestials, you don't need that much offensive ability. You can choose some more defensive options. Here, thankfully, there's a lot of pants, a lot of gear that giving you vitality damage overall, percentage-wise. For the belt, we're using the Cord of Violent Decay, mystical one. Again, vitality damage, percentage bonus offensive ability, +1 to Arcanist skills, which is good for my Panettis. And we're using the Underbog Laser over here, like you see. So the scales on my pants and 2 living armors on my gloves and shoulder guards giving me this armor absorption 100%. Alright, and then the gloves, mystical warped grasp, vitality damage again, and +2 to possession, and more, even more offensive ability. So possession, that's the aura we're using on this build, and is again giving me more vitality damage. Also, Hail Mighty Hero, welcome, Blacksmith. Thank you very much for following. One more follower, and we get a new animated emote, guys. I really appreciate it, Lastly, mystical bone shattered threads as the gear, as the boots over here. More vitality damage, more physical resistance, more offensive ability overall, and that's the Shattered Force that activated when I got hit, so additional survivability for me when it's stunning enemies and reducing their defensive ability. So that's basically covered all the gear here. I put a Mark of Morgodren on him for more health, getting this total survivability further here. Now the skills set, what we're using here. So Panetti is definitely the crown jewel of the build, since it's about Panetti missiles, and we want to max it out as fast as possible. So we want the Panetti missiles fast max it out. We want early on, if you're building this build from scratch, you want a distortion to get to level at least 10, when you get a 100% chance to pass through enemy, and you want around 8 points per affiliation. This overall will gonna give you so much mana consumption that you will not be able to efficiently DPS for a while with this. So how do you battle this? First of all, early on I was leveling up my mental alacrity a lot. Like I get it to soft cap. That's giving you more mana overall, less energy cost, and more casting speed, which is more like offensive ability. And then I put a lot of into a lot of ectoplasm, whenever I even can put it. Ectoplasm, you can find it mostly from a ghosts, and it's giving you that energy regen. So later on, you see we don't have any energy problem at all. But it was a problem up until maybe level 40, level 50 of this build. So energy regen for this build, I never showed it, did I? It's 146, but that's enough to sustain through other means. So yeah, Panetti missiles, the Crown Jewel here. We obviously maxed out Sphere of Protection for that damage absorption. We maxed out Overload for offensive ability. So this is something you can probably remove from a build if you don't want to fight the Celestials, because like I say, you don't need to have this 37 offensive ability. Most of the builds will survive to killing everything, every bosses in all the DLCs except the secret bosses and stuff, with around 26, 28 100 offensive ability, alright? So this is like too extensive, but this is also a good boost for early leveling up. When you start on your build on ultimate difficulty, you're gonna be struggling with offensive ability early on, mid-game, and this is Overlord giving me that flat offensive ability for me to get some edge over the enemies. here and there. So we have Mirror of Areoctes here for this panic baton, right? Giving 3 seconds of complete damage absorption, and you can survive or you can stay in there and DPS some guys through the sun there if you're still not comfortable enough to, well, to do it without it. We have Inner Focus, Soft Cap, more Spirit, more offensive ability, more damage. 1 point into Arcane Wheel. Most of the time, my health not dropping below the 70% to activate 75% to activate Arcane Wheel, and especially later on, it was a good skill for early on game, middle game. But at the moment I got the health leech, I just stay in on full health all the time. So sometimes it's activating, sometimes activated. Additional survivability, additional damage for you. We have Nullification, very important skill to have. No arguing about that. And Occultist. Occultist, what do we have here? First of all, the Curse of Frailty. So originally I planned to go for around 7 points into Curse of Frailty to get it 8 meter radius. But 5 points with a 6 meter radius, it's still a decent radius to cover most of the enemy group and getting that resistance reduction from vulnerability on them. Alright. Max it out, Blood of Drake. More offensive ability again. Good stuff for early mid game to use. An additional health leech. Before level 84, you will not have a health leech on this build. Unless you do something, I don't. Is it? Can you get a health leech early on than 84? I don't think you can for Panetti missiles. So before that, this is like additional source of that health restoration that you can save you at the final moment. Aspect of the Guardian. This is where additional vitality percentage damage come in, and overall physical resistance, overall poison resistance, more importantly. And the possession, our exclusive skills with 158 vitality damage and additional damage absorption 20%. So how the damage absorption working for if you have 2 damage absorption skills on 2 skills? The math itself elude me, but it's not additive, right? So we have 20% over here and 25% over here. It's not 45% absorption. It's lesser, right? It's like what 25% by 0.2 and adding it, so it's like 30% or something, or 28%. I don't know how the math works. You need to check it out, Google it out. Lastly, we have the last skill we got on this one built is Soil Witchfire. Again, it's giving the percentage of vitality damage, and it's around 1 point for my build. 1 point to Solar's Witchfire. It's around 500 DPS for me, which is not that much. The second ride giving me for 1 point around 180 DPS, also not that much. I just noticed that we don't have like a full points in supercharged here. So that's like you can remove some points from conversion over here to put in supercharge. This will be additional 1k DPS or 1500 DPS per this. No kidding. And I just wanted this stun ability, stun resistance would be on 61%. Lastly, Devotions. Devotions kinda very interesting stuff here. And we had some help from the Cephilax pointed out, helping me min-maxing those Devotions. So cheers, mate, thank you. I remember what we did for the community, for me personally. So that's how our devotion works and looks. We completely reshuffle our devotion after level 94 because, like I was saying before, we were using like Candled Quill and Rovari Crown. We're still using Candle for that 3 points free getting Eldritch on 18, and we need Eldritch on 18 to get Abomination. Alright. So we have Bot Constellation here. Again, so keeping that Abomination, the Chaos. The most important constellation is Ratosh, because giving me that Wheel of Ratosh is minus Vitality resistance. Then we have Owl for keeping the Chariot. The Chariot, I found myself using the Chariot constellation in most of my build nowadays. It just works, helping me with offensive ability in mid game and helping me with survivability in mid games through the Wayward Souls, more defensive, more armor, more health restoration every basically 6 seconds. Right, and there's offensive ability and percentage offensive ability over here. So it just works, it's good, and it's even good like in late game. So I just 99% of my build is just having right now the Chariot. So as I was contemplating, should I keep the Chariot with my already low defensive ability, or should I get the Race Dead over here, so I can get this some reduction resistances for my further reducing enemy resistance, flight reduction from the skeletons, and I decided I'm gonna go with the Chariot. It's just good, and it's just working better if you planning to play this guy on the hardcore even. So we still have 2 constellations, 3 points are, as I say, in the Crossroads. Can't take any of those, can I? Absolutely not. All of them supporting constellations. 6 points we need into order to support the Ratosh. So we do have Affliction. Fully everything for this offensive ability, right? And there's some Vitality decay. There is some Vitality damage chance, by the way. There's Vitality decay over here, more Vitality decay. So we have a Lantern constellation for more energy regeneration stuff. Something I added later on after shuffling the points from constellation after replacing that crane. So I replaced crane with a lion and the Lantern. So that's giving me that order. 5 points to order to keep a Ratosh afloat, and it's working. It's more damage than a crane. It's more stuff that I need in late game with lion as well. I do have a jackal as well for that easy 3 points into chaos, and I have abomination with abominable might on my oh my god, Curse of Frailty. Unfortunately for me, somehow my mind completely skipped the possibility of getting this bonus damage, bonus vitality percentage from Abominable Might, and I put that last point into Manticore. So the chat here, that is Relax specifically, pointed out that mistakes, and we got this Abominable Might, but we weren't able to level up to 15 before fights, major fights. So this is additional maybe 1k DPS to you, 100% of whatever vitality damage percentage overall that I have right now. And let's conclude all my constellations, right? So there's another constellation you can work with, like Gallows and Wendigo, which has given you that percentage to vitality damage. But I decided that it's better to have Abomination over either Wendigo and Gallows. The Gallows and Wendigo are just going pair to pair, right? You get in Gallows, which has given you that primordial points with the crossroads a little bit, and then you're gonna get the Wendigo. We did use this combination on my ritualist vitality build, but I overall decided that Abomination is way better than this. Alright, so I'm very satisfied with the build. it ended up way better than I was expecting. So Vitality Panetti missiles is actually a viable build. It's working. It's just working. It's slower than tier 1 builds like Force Wave builds, like Easter Ray build. Right, we played before. It's slower, but it's a solid tier 2 build. A solid tier 2 build which is able to kill Celestials, admittedly slowly. Admittedly, you require some player skills for that. Well, except the Mogadren maybe. And it's able to clear level 65 Shattered Realm. Again, if you play it carefully. That is, player skills also matter nowadays with the Thunder attacks and stuff. That's all I wanted to say about build. Thank you very much for watching. If you're watching this on YouTube, guys, I really do appreciate it. I really do appreciate it if you put that follow in for YouTube. We really need to get those follow-ups quite a bit to get to the 1,000 followers. We do have enough hours already on a channel. It's just the follow-ups, things that matter. What are we planning to do next?